All right, Teresa, today we might cause a little controversy, might cause a little stir. We might get some people all riled up.
That's what you do best, George Langabeer.
Damn right it is. That's what I do best. All right, so when I first started the channel back in January 2021, I made a video on security systems or burglar alarms, and I kind of gave my take on them. Well, a lot of people agreed with my take, but there were certain people that did not. And it seemed in particular it was alarm salespeople. So I kept getting the comments over and over again. The camera guy, of course he's the camera guy. He's going to sell you cameras. He doesn't like alarm systems because he's the camera guy. I kept hearing that term over and over again. Well, guess what? I'm not the camera guy. I'm the security guy. And there's a difference between me and you is I've got passion. I'm not a salesperson. I want to protect people. I want to catch bad guys and bad girls. That's what I'm in this for. That's why I make these videos. So forget the camera guy thing. I'm the security guy. But anyway, we're gonna revisit this topic. We're gonna go back to the burglar alarms, security systems. Has my opinion changed in 2022? That's what we're gonna talk about today. Let's get started. What up, everyone? It's George Langabeer with Silver Hammer Surveillance. Here on the channel, we talk smart home tech and we talk home security. We've got videos every Tuesday. We hope you keep tuning in and giving your support, subscribing and liking and all that good stuff. Today, we're talking security, home security. We're talking burglar alarms. We're talking the difference between monitored burglar alarms and DIY burglar alarms. And are they still a good idea in 2022? And what's my take? Has it changed since that video we did back in January that I talked about in the intro? I gotta tell you, when I did that video, people in the comments just went crazy. I mean, these people got some problems. I mean, they got people with helicopters dropping in on their yard. They got people belly crawling across the yard. They got barbed wire fences. They got all this crazy stuff going on. I gotta tell you, if you're in a situation where your life is that crazy, my videos are not gonna help. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to go next level. You're gonna have to get Homeland Security, CIA, FBI, I don't know what you need. But some of those examples were, they were out there, man. They were out there. So keep in mind that my videos are for your average homeowner, for your typical situation where you just want to protect your family and your stuff. Not that you live in some demilitarized zone and things are just going crazy, like, because I feel bad for you. I really do, but that's not what my videos are for. So we're going to talk about burglar alarms. And again, we're going to talk about monitored versus DIY. Because guess what? I am a security guy, and it is not a bad idea to layer your security. So I'm always going to go cameras first. And the reason for that, and I'm going to stick to this till I'm done in this life, you want to be proactive instead of reactive. And I feel that cameras are much more proactive with two-way audio and the facial recognition. You're going to get alerted before somebody gets in your house. My biggest problem with burglar alarms is that the person's already in your house. With that being said, it's great to layer. So if you're going to do it, do both. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about those two options, monitored versus DIY. Yeah, so it's great to layer your security, so have the cameras outside, trying to stop them before they get in, but if they do get in, have the alarm system, that's great. But do you need it monitored, or do you want to just have something that's self-monitored? And that's kind of what we're going to talk about. So let's kind of talk about the pros and cons on the monitored side. Now, alarms in general, the biggest advantage they have over cameras is if somebody is in your house, they're going to wake you up when you're sleeping. Cameras are great, and you've got the alerts outside and all that good stuff, but most of the time an alert on your phone is not going to wake you up. So for the burglar alarm, I give it to you there. That loud siren, that's going to wake you up. But I will say that a lot of cameras have that loud siren too. So if they get inside, that's going to make a siren too. But anyway, alarms have got cellular backup, so that's where the cameras are going to kind of fail you. So if your Wi-Fi goes out and you've got a Wi-Fi camera, because typically those cameras that have the facial recognition are going to have Wi-Fi. So if that goes out, maybe those cameras aren't going to work. So alarm systems do have cellular backup, but you got to pay for it. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But cellular backup is a huge benefit as well. So you got the siren, which is going to wake you up when you're sleeping, and you got that cellular backup or battery backup or whatever it may be. Those are two big advantages to alarm systems. And when you go to the monitored side, let's talk about the cons. And this is where the last video kind of came in. I just don't think you should have to pay somebody to call you before they call the police. Why not just call the police yourself? So in a lot of those instances, you're going to have some person in a call center, no offense to them, because they just need jobs. They're going to call, you, and if they can't get a hold of you, they might just send the police or the fire or whatever it may be. And then if there's nothing going on at home, you're going to get charged a false alarm fee, and that's not good. So I just think that if you're in control of the situation and you're not relying on some person you don't know, that's just where it's at. So whether that's cameras or a DIY alarm system, which we're going to talk about in a moment, I just don't believe in that monitoring fee. And that's really the whole spirit of that last video I made. I just don't think you should have to pay for that. Before we move on to DIY systems, let's just talk about a couple more pros of monitored systems. All right, so they're great for people that are in health danger. So if you fall, a lot of those have got key fobs with panic buttons. That's great. So then you got a monitoring service that's going to pick that up and call the paramedics for you. Now that is a useful situation. All right, then you've also got fire and carbon monoxide. So if a monitoring service picks that up, they can help you out with that when you're sleeping or you're not home or whatever that may be. Now, I'm going to talk about this in a second. When you go to DIY, there's a lot of smart devices where you can do that yourself. Smart smoke detectors, smart CO detectors. Now the panic button's a little different now, but if you've got an Apple Watch or that kind of thing, you've got that built in as well. So I don't know if you need that service, but it is a pro to a monitored service. Now, when I'm talking about these monitored systems, I'm talking about the popular brands like ADT. You got Vivint here locally, a little more regionally, SEI. You've got Cove, you've got Simplisafe, brands like that. So I'm talking about you've got a monitoring center. These people kind of respond to your alarms. You've got a connection, either Wi-Fi or cellular or whatever it may be, and they communicate for you. And like sometimes that backfires, but sometimes it can be helpful, like I just said. So those are some of the popular brands. Well, let's move on to DIY systems and the pros and cons there. Okay, so when we're talking about DIY solutions, I want to differentiate DIY solutions where you just kind of do it yourself to self-monitoring. They're kind of the same thing, but you want to be careful with the term self-monitoring because a lot of people think that means you're doing everything yourself. There are still self-monitoring services that charge you money for it. So that's very important. So when you see self-monitoring, kind of look in the fine print and see if they're charging you for that self-monitoring. Because when I'm talking about self-monitoring, I'm talking about what we're going to talk about next, and it's those DIY systems where you got no other third party involved and you're not paying anybody anything. All right, so as far as pros and cons of DIY systems, let's talk about just some of the cons. Number one, or mainly, you just don't have some of those things that I just told you about. You don't have somebody watching out for you when you're sleeping or you're out of town or out of the country or whatever it may be. So that's probably really the only con in my eyes. Now, if you want to feel that peace of mind and that is important to you, that's where those pros of the monitored system come in. But really, for me, that's the con, and I feel like you can do a lot of this yourself. So let's talk about the pros. Number one, the pros are just that you're not paying anybody anything, you're just taking care of it yourself. You're skipping the middleman. You're getting the alert, you're getting the facial recognition on a camera, you're getting the alarm, the loud sound that still happens with these DIY systems when you're sleeping. You're still getting all that, you're just not having somebody else involved and you're calling the police yourself. But you're saving yourself false alarm fees, you're saving yourself a big monthly fee, and that's important to me, and I think it's important to the average homeowner. So that's kind of the cons, and the pro is that you kind of get rid of the third person, but sometimes that third person can be helpful. Does that make sense? Okay, so these systems I'm talking about, we're talking about systems like Aqara with HomeKit. We're talking about Eufy. Eufy's got a system where you can do the monitored or not. They've got the door and window sensors. You've got, and let's go back to Aqara for a second. They've got every type of sensor you can think of: vibration, door and window contacts, flood, water leaks, weather monitoring, all sorts of things. All the things that you want in the monitored system, but you're not paying that fee and you're monitoring it all yourself. Then you've got companies like Abode. Now, Abode also has where you can pay for the monitoring or do self-monitoring. Now, their self-monitoring is pretty strict as far as features go. So keep that in mind. So you kind of got to see the difference. There's some companies that when you're doing it with no fee, you just don't have much to work with. Like you're losing the cellular backup with Abode. There's several different key features that you're missing when you're not paying, but at least they offer you the free option. So I'm talking about companies like that, where you basically just buy the stuff, you put the sensors up, they're all wireless. Most of the time you can do these in like 15 minutes. You've got HomeKit or Google Assistant or Alexa to kind of keep track of all this, like Aqara. Shane Whatley, great HomeKit stuff. Go back and watch this video he just did on Aqara. He did a deep dive into an Aqara alarm system. You can see how in-depth you can get with these systems. That video is a great example, and you don't have to pay anybody anything. But anyway, these services can sometimes offer both. Now, Aqara is just completely self-monitoring, but and Eufy's got both options. So you kind of got to look at, see what they're offering. But the fact that you can do it yourself, so basically you get an alert on your phone, you get the loud siren if somebody does break in, you still get all of that, but you're the one calling the police and you're skipping that middleman. And then that leads us in, when I'm talking about HomeKit, Google Assistant, and Alexa, that leads us into smart home integration, where a lot of the monitoring systems are lacking. Like ADT's got some of that, but they're kind of very iffy on what they're compatible with. Some systems just don't integrate at all. Like Simplisafe has very little smart home integration. Now for me, obviously, another one of my passions, the third passion, is smart home tech. And I'm a big HomeKit guy, so I like the systems like Aqara. Abode is another great HomeKit system, but Abode's kind of got an advantage because they do Google Assistant and Alexa as well. But Aqara, if you're HomeKit, man, that's just the way to go. Again, watch Shane Watley's video on that. I'll put the link in the description. I'll also put the link in the description of some of our old security system videos as well. But anyway, so yeah, smart home integration is important because then you can do automation. So, you know, when a sensor's tripped, other things can happen in your house. You know, the lights can come on. There's just a ton of different automations you can do. HomeKit's a great example of that. You can just, like, automations are unlimited, basically, with these security systems. Now, I will say on the HomeKit side note, it really sucks that the Abode has been around for a couple of years. Aqara is still coming out with new stuff, but we're really only talking about 2 systems with Apple HomeKit. Come on, Apple HomeKit. Grow your security system offerings. You've got some, you know, great cameras coming out and all that, but let's grow on the security system side. And I guess what, alarm salesman people, I'm talking about, I got a wish list of security systems come out. Anyway, but smart home integration is very important, at least for me. So, you know, if you don't care about that, then that's fine. But if you do care about that, kind of look, are you a Google Assistant person, Alexa or HomeKit? If you're HomeKit, you're really only got those 2 options. But anyway, all right. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Pros and cons of monitored versus DIY. And, you know, like I said, layer your security. On that last video, I was not trying to say you shouldn't have everything you could possibly do. I was saying people on a budget, your average homeowner, if you had the choice, go cameras first because it's proactive. If you can afford both and you're a smart home person and you got all this other stuff and a bigger budget, then by all means, please layer your security. You know, like I said, if you got all these crazy examples of people dropping out of helicopters and jamming your Wi-Fi and all this stuff, I'm sorry, I probably can't help you. I don't know if anybody on YouTube can help you. You need to call the police, call the FBI, call somebody. But anyway, so these are for the average homeowner. So me personally, now I'm a HomeKit guy, so I like Aqara. I'm protecting this place and my shop with Aqara. It's just, they've got every sensor you can possibly think of. They've got a great indoor camera, which can be the hub for that system. So if you're doing an indoor camera, on a side note, you have to be careful with these alarm companies, especially the monitored ones. Actually, any of them, minus Aqara. The cameras on these systems usually suck. So ADT, cameras suck. SEI, they've got some great cameras, but they're going to make you pay for it. That's here locally. Generally, they're going to give you the ones that suck because they concentrate on those monitoring fees and they don't really care about the cameras. Cox Communications, big cable internet provider, their cameras suck. In fact, we come in after them a lot of times and they're putting indoor cameras outside, and I'm not even sure how they're getting away with that because they're not going to last, especially in Nebraska. Abode, their alarm system is awesome. The HomeKit, Google Assistant, Alexa one that I just talked about, but their camera sucks. Simplisafe, cameras suck. So be careful, you know, like Aqara is a great example. They do have a great camera, but with any HomeKit secure video camera in HomeKit, complement your alarm system with that. So if you do Abode, just don't get their camera. They got an offering where the camera's not included. Just buy that and then get a cool HomeKit secure video camera. But kind of keep that in mind. Vivint, another monitored system. The cameras suck. It's a theme, but I'm a camera guy. Yes, I am. I'm a camera guy. I'm a security guy. I'm a burglar alarm guy. I'm all of those wrapped into one. But I'll say, as a guy that does sell cameras every day, the cameras suck. So anyway, did that come across, Teresa? I think it did.
I think you were pretty passionate, yes.
Anyway, So please layer your security. I want you to feel safe, but please make sure it's a solution that works. That's what I ask of you. Do your research, watch videos like this one, and just layer away. I want you to be safe. That's the key for me. But yeah, me personally, I'm doing Aqara, and then I integrate that into HomeKit. I've got some HomeKit secure video cameras. Right now I'm using the Eufy 2C. I use the Aqara camera inside. All those integrated very nicely into HomeKit secure video, and that's what I'm personally using both at my shop and at this new loft. So I did have the Abode system at my shop several years ago. We sell the Eufy system quite often to people. Ring. How did I forget Ring? Ring is another one that's got the self-monitoring. They do have some options, but go back and watch my video on Ring. I'm just not a big believer there, but they do have another one. And you can integrate that with their other products, and that's more of an Amazon product, obviously. And Amazon's a bad word in our house, sorry. But yeah, so anyway, so kind of incorporate it all. Cameras, security, other automations, lighting is important. And yeah, the safety thing is huge. So a lot of those comments were very valid on my last video about safety, being fire and CO. You do want those things. So if you're not getting a monitored system, find yourself a good, smart fire detector and smoke detector and CO detector, something that's going to alert you and that you can, tells you when it's safe to go back. If it's carbon monoxide, like the Nest Protect. There's several others out there. We did a video on a HomeKit smoke detector. Go back and check that out. I'll put that link in the description down below for that one. But safety is very key. And then, with elderly people or just health in general, that's where indoor cameras are important. A lot of people don't like indoor cameras for privacy, and I totally understand that. But in the case of kids, small kids, elderly, whatever it may be, the health and safety, that can be important. So you get those facial recognition alerts, and you have that two-way audio where you can hear if they're in trouble. That's kind of how you can substitute those monitoring services that you're paying for by just having your own camera to monitor yourself. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments. I know you're going to. Security systems in 2022, yeah, I think they are a great complement to cameras. And again, cameras because they're proactive, and I'd rather be proactive any day of the week than reactive. But combined, layered together, and you can afford it, do it. Do it all. Protect yourself. So any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. Hopefully you liked this video. Smash the like button if you did. Subscribe to the channel. We very much appreciate your support. Videos every Tuesday. Hope to see you on the next one. Until then, peace and love.